everyone, welcome to Word Funk. I am Leon Thomas. I am joined by Austin Yorsky and Johnny Maloney. Hey guys, I want to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me, because my memory isn't always that great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is for important things, but only today, like a few hours ago, did I remember that Will Smith once did a cover/remix of Just the Two of Us. And I would like to go back in time and experience that again and ask people if they thought it was weird that he made a song that was previously about fucking a woman into a song about spending time with his son. Like, were people like, Will Smith, are you sure you want to do this to Will Smith at the time? Or were they like, well, we liked you in that one thing, Will Smith? Or did nobody tell him? Did everyone just kind of like, let's not say it?
There was a period of American pop culture in which we let Will Smith do whatever he wanted. I don't know why. I mean, I guess Men in Black was okay, but that doesn't excuse Wild Wild West, right?
No.
But he did it anyway.
The thing about this is, look, I'm absolutely not saying that Will Smith wants to have sex with his son. And when I say that, I'm not saying it like, I'm not saying that. No, I'm literally saying, of course he does not. That's ridiculous. I'm just saying that this is a ridiculously embarrassing faux pas.
Do you think is it more or less embarrassing when Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch took that song about blurring gender lines and were like, yeah, let's make a song about dancing?
I do like when somebody covers a song and the original song is written by someone of one gender, but then so they change all the pronouns. Like, it'll be icky if I make this too gay.
Yeah, I recall that happening in a Big Yellow Taxi by Counting Crows, not originally by Counting Crows though. The thing is about this, I'm not saying that this particular song that I brought up messed up Jaden Smith, but I am saying that a few years later, he became like a mutant Twitter cosmonaut.
I'm actually surprised more celebrity kids don't turn out like Jaden Smith. Like, I don't know the boy personally, but this confluence of wealth, privilege, just the ability to be very public with all of your mistakes and pretension. Like, I think we'd see this more. It's strange that we don't, honestly, because, I mean, if I had unlimited power and money, I would have been an insufferable internet teenager.
I think there's probably something probably has to do with the fact that Will Smith spent a lot of his young life in the spotlight too. Whereas,
but don't you think he would want his son to avoid the same mistakes? Like, get him like a media manager, like a PR guy to teach him not to be a weirdo on the internet?
You know, but like maybe perhaps I don't know, because it seems to me, when I think about child stars who go off the rails, it's like, it's usually, possibly with the exception of Drew Barrymore, who, when she was, like, young, went off the rails, but then, like, managed to turn it around. Most of them that I can think of are like, yeah, my dad got me into this, so mountain of cocaine it is!
Some of them turned out okay. I mean, Mara Wilson is super normal.
Yeah, but she gave it up,
for example.
You know? Like, there came a point in time in her career where she was like, no, nuh-uh. Same with, I can't remember the actress's name, but she used to play Winnie on The Wonder Years.
Yeah. She just became a really cool teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she's like a normal person who is also just super smart.
Yeah, and the kid, who played, what's the character? Oh, yeah, the kid from Dick Tracy.
Okay.
He also, like, he gave it up. He got to a certain age, he's like, nah, fuck it, I gotta go to school. You know?
Okay.
Like, when he was on set for Dick Tracy, he told stories about how he was like, yeah, I couldn't keep any friends, and I couldn't get any of my studying done. Like, I couldn't have a life, and it was scary.
Yeah, and it should also be noted that some child stars who remain in show business don't always, like, become messed up. Like, for example, we mentioned the Wonder Years. Fred Savage still, works.
Yeah.
He is still in show business.
Very successful
I believe
director.
Yeah. I mean, and as far as I know, I mean, you don't hear a lot of, like, TMZ stories about Fred Savage going crazy in a bar and just, like, fucking everyone's shit up. He's like, do you know who I am?
JJ Bean Cafe for getting wrong kind of cream cheese.
Yeah, I mean, he just, as far as we know, he's probably just a well-adjusted person who happened to be a child star, and now he's some other kind of star, mostly the adult kind.
Perhaps this whole discussion is just specious then. Because, everybody's like, well, obviously people have, like, landed on two sides of this varied fence.
Well, what brought this on, Leon? What were you thinking about that led you to this question? Was just this, you just thought this would be a fun opening?
I was at a gas station, and they were playing the, like, normal version of Just the Two of Us, and I was like, this is a decent song. It's not exactly for me, but this is a perfectly nice song to listen to while I go in and pay for gasoline. And then as I walked out, it just hit me like a bolt of lightning. Something I hadn't thought of in, like, I guess over a decade, because Will Smith was still making music. I was like, oh, did Will Smith once do a song about this? And then as I got into my car, I turned on the YouTube app of my phone, and I said, yes, he did. And here it is. And it's weird. And that's it. Didn't his other kid become briefly famous, and then she was like, nah?
Yes, last time I checked, Jaden Smith was a one-hit wonder. Presumably, it's possible.
You mean Willow Smith?
What'd I say?
You said Jaden Smith again.
That's the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
There's so many of them.
Are there?
No, there's two of them. There's Jaden and Willow.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, there's literally two.
And
I'm being weird.
even though, like, you're like, Jaden's a one-hit wonder, not for lack of trying.
Yeah, I meant Willow. Their names are unusual, but I still probably shouldn't have messed that up. I'm very tired.
It's fine.
We were recording our other show last night, and I barely made it through. I actually forgot how to talk at the end, and there was like I'll edit it out, but there's like a 30-second gap where I was just like, I don't want to talk anymore because I was so tired. But this show is weird. I have stuff to talk about, but Leon, did you want to get political off the bat, or do you want to save it to the end?
I can do it right now. I mean, I'll just talk briefly about the thing I wanted to talk about, and then you can launch into the whole other thing that you brought up in the Skype chat. I just wanted to say this real quick. If you listen to the news and on Twitter, you would think that the biggest news that came out of the Republican National Convention, for us recording now only a few days ago, by the time you hear this, a while ago, you would think that the biggest news that came out of it was that someone plagiarized someone else's speech. And I'm not saying that's not a big deal, but like that's like the 17th worst thing that happened there. I sat through nearly the entire acceptance speech by Donald Trump, and it was frightening because there's a term.
Know where you are, Leon.
Yeah, there's a term. It's called like dog whistling, and by that, in the political context, it means that a politician says a thing that is meant to get into the heads of someone else that it means something else. Often it is used racially by someone saying a word that is not inherently about race, but conjures up something for for white people. And this is a common thing, and it's like finger quotes effective tactic, because a politician can say, for example, the word thug, which has been sort of like attached to African Americans, which it shouldn't be, but that is what. And basically politicians and frankly sometimes right-wing conservative pundits will say words like that to let their white audience know what they mean, and then when someone calls them on it, they'll be able to say, no, I didn't say that. I said thug. Thug is not like the N-word. And they'll like be able to cover their butts. But the reality is we know what you're saying, and the people you're trying to reach know what they're saying. Now, like I said, politicians do this quite a bit, and it's pretty obvious. But when Donald Trump did his speech, he was just blowing a regular whistle. He's like, he's like, it wasn't in any way subtle. He was like, a Mexican came to America a little while ago and murdered someone. So,
and no one white has ever committed a murder, as we all know. Literally, right. Leon, as you're speaking, Donald Trump is conducting an AMA and Ask Me Anything on a subreddit predominantly controlled by neo-Nazis.
Yeah, there's nothing subtle about what he is trying to say, and that's the strange thing. Like, politicians for the longest time have tried to do dog whistling. They've tried to provoke basically the majority to fear the minority, but do so in a way that is, I wouldn't say clever, but careful. Trump has somehow succeeded in doing the opposite, and it's kind of frightening. Because usually, like when politicians will say something like really bigoted, and then you bring it up with someone who is maybe a little more rational, just someone you know who's a little more rational but leans more to that political side, and you say, "Can you believe what that guy said? It was so bigoted." And they'll say, "No, I didn't really say it like that." And I was like, "Oh, yes, they did, but now it's different because Donald Trump just keeps saying things that are very obvious and not coded in any way."
Well, plausible deniability was seen as something like that had cachet, but it turns out like that was literally just arbitrary. Like that only had meaning because we assigned it meaning, and once Trump no longer like recognized it, we couldn't recognize it as a defense against him because he just doesn't see any of it as meaningful.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say about it. Every time I have a little worry about the November election, and I voice this like in public, people will say he's not going to win. He has like no chance because, and then they'll rattle off like a few reasons why he has a less than 50% chance of winning. But my feeling about that is like, if scientists came on television and said, there's only like a 20% chance, which is not much, that an asteroid is going to hit us tonight, I'm not going to be like, oh, I shouldn't even think about this.
Well, here's the difference between those two scenarios, Leon, is that if the asteroid misses us, it's gone. But even if we win, that means, if I say we, if non-horrible people win the election, we still have to live with those 20% of like raving mad people. Like they're not going away in the way that an asteroid would go away. They're still here.
Yeah, and they've been emboldened.
Austin,
that's me.
If you believe very hard and you clap your hands loud enough, they might shut the fuck up for a little while.
Leon, you say you don't know what to say. I agree that like at this point words are pointless. Like everyone knows if you don't know, then you're being like willfully ignorant at this point. Like things are the way they are, and like what is even to be said at this point. What I wanted to say, I think what you alluded to at the beginning, is that there's some points of criticism in the other direction, and I think this is something we could easily gloss over. I know you gave a big impassioned speech like months ago about like party unity on the left and whatnot, and I don't know. I feel like some of us on this political spectrum feel hesitant to criticize right now because we're in it's such a terrifying thing to feel vulnerable when the stakes are this high. But I guess I'll stop like pussyfooting around it. I guess there was a hack. People are calling it a leak, but it's not a leak. That these emails were stolen and released, basically implicating the Democratic National Convention in some shady activity like astroturfing, superdelegates, basically not honoring the process and like pledging like support when they should not have. Basically shady shit that I guess we all just assume politicians are involved in, but we don't really have as much concrete proof of it as we do now. And this is something we could just not acknowledge. Like we could just come on this show and talk about BoJack Horseman or whatever.
We're
going to. But I'm saying it's a very likely scenario that we just never address this because the people who have done wrong are people we agree with. But I'm not sure that's the kind of person I want to be.
No. We should absolutely talk about it.
Okay.
Look, I mean, my feeling is what basically some of the tactics used against Senator Sanders are pretty shady, as you mentioned, and honestly, it didn't even have to come out in email form, like for us to know about this. It was pretty obvious that the then, I guess, DNC chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz basically scheduled all the debates on nights when people would not watch, and on days when people would not watch, and at times when people would not watch, because everyone already knows Hillary Clinton. And if they just don't get to know Bernie Sanders, then he will have less chance of breaking through. And that tactic did, in fact, work, as well as I'm sure some other things. I mean, this deck was stacked against him from the start. He probably would have lost anyway, but...
I mean, if anything, what this revelation does is throw into stark relief, like, what a miraculous run he had. Like, it's almost, like, heartening to say, like, whoa, a socialist, like, almost won a major party nomination. That's pretty cool.
It's also hopeful in the sense that progressive values might find a stronger foothold now in the Democratic Party, which for too long has, tried to bridge the gap so hard that they've, rather than bridge it, they've just narrowed it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
For any foreign listeners, the Liberal Party in America is actually pretty conservative. So I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, by certain worldwide standards. Look, the fact is that Senator Sanders' campaign did not have the final, result of him becoming the nominee, but he did the other thing that people were hoping would happen, and that is sort of like kind of force the presumptive nominee and now the definite nominee, Hillary Clinton, to kind of go a little to the left, and the entire party to sort of adopt these things because they said, oh, look, they're popular. So it worked despite sort of the best efforts of some of the higher ups in the Democratic Party.
Yeah. Schultz is our fault, right? She's Florida. Yeah,
Austin,
I'm just saying.
If you want to start copying to everything that is Florida's fault right now, we're gonna be here for a lot longer than I can be.
Okay.
On the plus side, you have Epcot Center.
Sorry for Bush, but we also did Epcot. Does that cancel out?
I think you have some pretty rad mini golf courses too.
Yeah, there's like the animals and stuff. They're good.
I seem to recall being a particular nautical themed mini golf in Florida. And while that may not seem like much, it's a very vivid memory to me.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, yes. I mean, basically, I mean, it's very important to acknowledge that politicians across the board are always doing shady things. But how do I put this? There are degrees, Is
there a point at which you would not vote for Clinton? Like, what could she do? Like, if she murdered someone,
she would have to be more horrible than Donald Trump. That would be it. And I don't see how that's possible.
Okay.
She would have to I mean, as we're speaking, it's Wednesday night when we're recording this. The Democratic National Convention is almost over. But if she did another speech and she came on stage, and just started strangling puppies,
and she was like, "I love the ending of Mass Effect 3." I'd be like, "Well, this is a bridge too far."
Yeah, she would not only have to strangle the puppies, but then kind of eat them, and then
eat them, just a little taste,
yeah, just a little, and then I'd be like, I'm still not sure. I don't know.
I'm sorry for the bad energy of this episode. This is kind of a downer, but I've just been thinking about this because the morality of politics is so fucking crushingly depressing. Relative to the other politicians, I love Obama, but he also murders civilians with robots from the future, and he operated a CIA black site torture chamber called the Salt Pit, where we took people who hadn't been convicted of crimes and we fucking mutilated them.
Incidentally, the Salt Pit was my nickname in high school.
Nice.
What did you say, Leon? I missed it.
Here's the thing.
Yeah. Okay, I'm ready for the thing. Tell me the thing.
You can like search through the third-party candidates who have zero chance of being elected and say, well, this one is most like me, so I'm going to pick my own artisanal presidential candidate.
Personal pan president.
Right. And say, that's who I'm voting for because it'll make me feel good about myself. Or you can actually be part of the real process. And I'm very sorry if that sounds harsh, but there have been a few times in our nation's history, one that's not that far in our past, where basically a third-party candidate ended up being a bit of a spoiler. And I don't want that to happen this time. I don't want it to happen any time. I mean, just face facts. I mean, the fact is, when you're picking, everyone's like, ooh, I'm going to take my Facebook quiz and find out which candidate is the most like me, and then I'm going to vote for that candidate. No, you pick the, I'm sorry. You know what, if that were true, if you only wanted to pick the candidate that was just most like you and had your exact political beliefs and ideas, then you would do a write-in for yourself. And that would be it. And that would be just as effective as voting for Jill Stein. I'm sorry.
Leon, it's difficult for me to weigh in on the third party thing one way or another because that is such a distinctly American problem.
No, it is. But Johnny, I'm under the impression that the only way that your previous prime minister got out is because a lot of people, and you have like multiple, left-ish parties in your country.
We have
and the way that
at least what I consider to be 4 major parties in Canada, and one of them is entirely based in Quebec, in the French province. But they're a federal party,
right.
So.
Right, but it's my understanding, and I could be wrong about this, but I did read an article recently about how Trudeau got elected. There's like one like really big conservative party that's all across Canada, and then there are 2 that are like to the left.
There's also the Green Party.
Right. That's what I mean. There's these kind of like leftish kind of parties.
So major political parties in Canada right now, parties that are actually allowed into like the federal debates and things like that are the Conservative Party, which is our past prime minister. That's our right wing party. There is the Liberal Party, which is kind of centrist left. There's the NDP, which is far left. There is the Bloc Québécois, which gets to do whatever they want as long as it has to do with Quebec's interests. And then there is the Green Party, who, as of I think this point in time, the Green Party has only ever won 1 seat in Canadian Parliament. But they are permitted to national debates, and they do still bring in at least a reasonable chunk of the popular vote overall.
Okay. And may I assume that the Green Party in Canada is much like the Green Party in America, and that is left of center? Actually,
weirdly enough, the Green Party's fiscal policies are often right and quite conservative, but their social policies are quite left.
Okay, so you have like one like almost centrist party, 2 left-leaning parties, one that doesn't really count because it's just Quebec, and the other.
Historically speaking. No, historically speaking, Trudeau's party, our current dreamy prime minister, has been more centrist than just about any of them.
That's fine, but my point is that it is my understanding after some articles I read that the way that you got out your conservative prime minister was everyone said, instead of splitting up the vote all these different ways, let's just go with this one dude, and they mostly went with this one dude.
Conceivably, yeah.
Yeah, and basically that's how you got rid of him.
I know, but at the same time, okay, here's something. When I first got the vote, okay, I was very dissatisfied with the Liberal Party, which was our current government. I had no faith in the NDP and the left-leaning party because I feel that they had lost touch with, one of the things about Canadian politics is that if you don't know how to vote like nationally, then you can vote locally. Because you're only voting for a local representative, and then whoever has the most representatives nationally becomes the majority party. All right? So I got into a conversation with someone who said, well, have you investigated the Green Party? Because when I first voted, when I first got to age to vote, the Green Party was not allowed to federal debates. They hadn't won a seat, nothing, right? And I was like, oh, but I feel like I'm throwing my vote away. And he said to me, no, there's a lot of people who feel like you feel. And if we actually let it be known, if when it comes time to vote, if we let it be known that these are things that we're concerned about and these are the people that we want to represent us, invariably change will come. It won't come quickly. It won't come right now, but somebody is going to have to listen. And if you can encourage just two people, to vote with your heart, then they convince two people each, and they convince two people each. This is how cultural movements get started. Mm-hmm. So, like, that, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. That having been said, I do also believe that there is such a thing as weighing your options.
Right. Yeah. And basically, I'll pivot back to American politics now. Everyone says, when I say, well, I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton this November in the election. In a lot of ways, my vote will not count. I live in a blue state. There is no chance she's going to lose here, and that's it. But I am part of the process. And when I say things like that, someone says, "Well, shouldn't you vote your conscience?" And but again, it's like my conscience tells me that I don't want Donald Trump to be president. That is the most important thing that my conscience tells me. My conscience tells me that he is very dangerous. I don't really want any Republican to be president, if I'm being perfectly honest, but especially not that one. If this were let me put it a different way. If Hillary Clinton were running and Paul Ryan were the Republican candidate, I would still not vote for a third party candidate. I would still encourage people to get the person in who can actually get in. And I've had this debate with people before, and like I said, I should never tell people not to vote your conscience, but I dislike the idea that voting for a person who will win and can actually do something instead of a vote that won't actually do anything. I dislike the idea that that's not conscientious.
I see what you're saying, and I get it, and I will also probably be voting for Clinton, but I'm not gonna. I'm not going to feel good about it, I guess is what I'm getting at here. I don't... No.
You don't have to feel good about it. I don't feel good about a lot of... No, that's fine. You don't have to feel good about it. But, let me say something that might be a little selfish, Austin. Mm-hmm. This isn't about you.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's not about me either. Not really, not on a personal level. I don't care how I sleep at night after I vote. I care about what actually happens to lots and lots of people. Especially, frankly, marginalized people who will be adversely affected by a Trump presidency. And not just in my country.
So how about enough of that depressing shit? We could be there all day. You guys want to talk about some talking animals or something?
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
hit me.
Enough with the depressing shit.
We're going to talk about BoJack Horseman. Oh my God.
Have we all finished it?
Oh yeah, I finished. Almost right away. I rarely am able to binge anything because my schedule is so tight. But I found the time.
Yeah, I'm surprised by the way it gripped me. I would think 3 seasons of the same horse being selfish and then feeling bad about being selfish should be old by now. But it's just not. Yeah. I love this show. And I think it just keeps getting dorkier in a way as it goes. All the background animal jokes, there's a poster for Hamilton, but Hamilton's a pig, and there's all this.
Well, it's one of the funny things about when broadcast TV decides to ditch trying to draw new viewers in and just be like, okay, let's play to our base because that's good enough. It's so difficult to get entry, but Netflix. Mm-hmm. It's just sort of at any point in time you can go, well, I've heard BoJack Horseman's really good, and then just pick it up and go
and just fucking freebase it.
Yeah, and just right into the mouth of madness, as it were.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about this show, and I think about it almost on every episode, is that even though it's a very adult show and there are a lot of adult jokes, and it it is not only not for children because of the content, but I don't think kids would truly get what he's going through. Despite all this, the clean jokes are the funniest ones.
Yeah, I love when they bend themselves into fucking pretzels to make corny puns or like to reference old books and stuff.
The episode this season where all the spaghetti fell into the ocean. I was on the couch kicking my legs, laughing my ass off. I was like, oh my god, you worked so hard. You worked so hard for that one payoff, for just that one moment. I was like, I can't believe, I have never seen a writer limbo that low.
Yeah. It's so dorky, it's so hammy, it's so like, it shouldn't work, and I should be mad, I think, at some of these jokes, but just because they're Austin humor in like a really bad way, and it's great.
The whole season is great, but my favorite, like, not sad scene, but my favorite comedy bit, it's just a really old, like, Looney Tunes kind of bit, where Mr. Peanut Butter has lost his phone and he has to run around looking for it while we listen to the Mr. Peanut Butter's House theme in full version for the first time, and I just loved every second of it. And that's what I mean, is like, it's a, you know, it's dark humor show.
Or the skunk
It's
episode.
a lot of adult content. And yet,
and
it's like, but a lot of the jokes are like perfectly acceptable. It doesn't have to be. It's not a gross out show. If that's what I'm trying to. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there's a couple of different facets of it that work, and sometimes they work together, sometimes they work separately. Like the lame, corny humor, the animal puns, the exploration of like self-destructive tendencies, and then like the celebrity culture shit. Like there's a bunch of things that you don't even think would necessarily mesh well, but they do. And I guess we're talking broadly about it, but I guess like specifically, like what this show is now is. Like, he's irredeemable at this point, right? It's like almost like an Orange is the New Black, where he's a bad guy, and I don't want him to succeed, and everyone else around him is way more interesting now. Am I alone?
I don't think you're alone on that, but I don't personally feel the same way.
I want to see him get some peace. I don't want to see him necessarily like win and succeed, but I want to see a little bit of relief for him.
Right. This could be one of those shows where the protagonist just dies at the end, and I think that would be narratively satisfying in some ways because it's building, I guess, to it. But I would also be perfectly comfortable in like the beginning of the 4th season, he's just in therapy. And by the end of the 5th season, he's not fine because he's never going to be, but he's got enough of his shit together to get through the day. And I think that would be also a narratively satisfying and also pretty realistic, end to it too. He doesn't have to like, you know, get a bunch of shotguns and go out in a blaze of glory and the camera pans away from him. He just, you know, he's like, oh, you know, I feel bad and I still drink, but not as much. And that is the end of the series. And by the way, you mentioned at the very beginning of this conversation that, this horse does bad things and he feels sad. For 3 seasons. I was thinking the other day, I wonder how many seasons it can go before there is an actual noticeable change in BoJack before it gets frustrating. But we'll find out in the 4th season. I thought this one worked very well, though. It is some of it is more of the same, but you notice more about his relationship with Todd got better, and then it briefly got worse again. And I don't know. I really liked it.
So yeah, it does retread some of the same old ground, but it also does some new and interesting stuff. I think the episode everyone is either talking about or will be talking about is the one with virtually no dialogue.
That was good.
Yeah.
I like that one.
It's not a new trick. I think Buffy the Vampire Slayer famously did something very similar, and it's also one of the best episodes of that.
The expression goes that The Simpsons probably did it.
Probably. But I think that one shows that, like, even though a lot of the show's appeal is, like, the jokes. Like, even without the jokes, there's just a lot going on from the animation and from just the mannerisms and just the way we feel about these characters. It's just strong. There's a strong foundation there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, this is the third time we've talked about it at length, so we don't need to go over all of it. But I'm surprised that I'm still, like, really digging it. Like, once I started, I did not want to stop watching this show.
Yeah. It's apparently very popular. I was told that, like, either the later in the day or the day after the third season premiered.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was less than a day later. It was confirmed that they had renewed it for a fourth season.
Yeah.
Which is, for personally, quite a contrast to where I started BoJack and I could not stop, and then I tried to watch Stranger Things and I could not force myself to continue. I'm like,
oh, really?
3 episodes in. It's not even that I dislike it. I just can't muster the enthusiasm for whatever reason. Actually, no, I know what the reason is, because I want to watch Winona Ryder versus Monster, but that's like 10% of the show, and the other 90% is teens and tweens and whatever's younger than that, and I don't care.
Yeah, my hatred for children is almost universally known, but I'm still going to watch this show. But I haven't seen it just yet. I've been.
I think it may appeal to you a little more than it has appealed to Austin, Leon.
Well, that there is certainly I guess I grew up in that era, but I really would like to watch this show and not be blinded by nostalgia, because I've sort of that's kind of become a bad word to me, especially on the internet. But I mean, it's going to happen whether I allow myself to accept the nostalgia or not.
It doesn't really lean on nostalgia. Like, it has some pastiche in the same way that, like, It Follows kind of leaned on some Carpenter. But it's not it's not like, oh man, this is a lot like It, or, this is just like something Steven Spielberg would do. It just is. Like, I don't really, you know what I'm saying?
I went on the playlist.net today, and there was I didn't watch it, but apparently there's a 4-minute supercut that shows all the movie references from the 70s and 80s in this show. Apparently there are a lot.
Yep. There are lots of movie posters up in the background. There's like, there's there's the movie theater in town where I'm like, oh my god, I remember that movie theater. Like, before those giant multiplexes started coming up. And, just the soundtrack, too, is just...
But the difference is, like, pastiche and homage versus, like, parody or just, like, redoing something. And I feel like you can enjoy it to an extent without also being familiar with the things it's drawing on. Which, I don't know if that's the difference for me, but that's not my problem with the show. Like, I would even be okay if it was, like, half Winona Ryder versus Monster and half kids. But it's like, there's the kids, and then there's also another group of teens. And it's like, so it doubles up on those motherfuckers. And, like, I don't care about their smooching. I don't.
But Austin...
There's, like, a whole subplot about smooching.
Austin,
who cares?
Austin, it was the early 80s. Everything was about smooching.
I wasn't there.
Also, if you could see a boob.
Yeah.
That was a very
big deal.
That was a very important thing in the early 80s. If you could see a boob, that was like, you had to. It was like, dude, you could see a boob.
Look, it like stumbling on, like, when you were a child in the 80s, stumbling on... That having
been said, I need to clarify quickly, Leon, there are no boobs in Stranger Things.
That's fine, I don't care anymore.
Because some people are like, ugh, gotta see a boob. As if, like, now it's a collection thing.
Yeah. What I mean is, as a child in the 80s, if someone found, like, a nudie magazine, that was like stumbling on plutonium. It was like, oh my god, everyone, we have to call everyone, and then we have to hoard it. It was like a big thing. Now it's like, it's just that there's no stopping the boobs.
There's no stopping the boobs.
Which might be the title.
There are more boobs than I know what to do with.
Right. I mean, it's like, ugh, another one.
Like, you're just sensitized to it now.
No, I feel like I need to. I need to assign, like, my inferiors to, like, catalog and govern the amount of boob that I just get hit with every day. Like, turn a page. Oh, God, that's a boob. All right, Devin, deal with this.
I need tit underlings.
Yeah. I just want to make a quick reference here. Like, if you're listening to this show, like a day later or so than it usually is up, it's because like right after we're done recording this, I'm packing up to go to Canada tomorrow. So I'm just gonna be like incommunicado for a few days, and that also means I'm not like near my computer, so I can't edit it or anything. So that is why you don't have to ask why it was late.
Speaking of fan interactions, on the last episode I made a joke about the racial demographics of Jehovah's Witnesses, and a commenter was so kind as to inform us that actually there's a lot of diversity. I guess I didn't realize that, but apparently there's a lot of African American Jehovah's Witnesses. That's the thing.
Yeah,
I learned.
but that makes the painting we were talking about that much more troubling.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's not even accurate. Oh well.
I don't know. I think a lot about stuff like that because evangelical tendencies in Judeo-Christian religions are so strange to me for coming from a scriptural perspective. Like,
oh my
I'm
God,
sure you guys. Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. I totally just had a like.
Yeah.
Sorry, listeners. This is one of those brief episodes where we had like a 30-minute conversation before we started recording about maybe what we were going to talk about, and I was like, I did some
That's
things.
just not true. That literally didn't happen. But go on.
No, it didn't really. But I thought about what we were going to talk about, which is almost good enough. And I was like,
in the Catholic sense, or if you think about it, you did it in your heart.
I was like,
Right.
Oh God, there was something else, but I haven't been sleeping well this past week, and my brain is just like mush, like not even good mush, like like a barley salad or something like that, just mush.
Okay.
And I just remembered what it was that I saw, and it was this documentary called Jesus Camp.
Oh Christ!
Oh.
Literally. Yeah. That's
How
upsetting.
was it? How
Horrific!
was Jesus Camp? That's what I hear. I haven't seen it
Horrific!
yet.
Just like, I got to the end of it. I watched it on Netflix, because it's on Netflix Canada. I got to, and it was like, hey, rate this title. And I was like, I don't know. Is that a 1? Because I kind of hated what was going on. Or is that like a 5? Because it was like, thank you for showing me that this awful thing that I hated is going on.
Yeah, it's weapons grade, that documentary. But that dovetails with what I'm saying, is that the books say one thing and the culture says another. So obviously the Bible does not say to be a shithead like a lot of mainstream religious expressions, especially political ones. But specifically where I was going on the idea of like evangelicism is that like the Old Testament obviously is like, hey, we're the chosen ones. We have this covenant. It's passed down matrilineally. Like, it's not a door-to-door enterprise. And the New Testament, while it does have in the letters some, like, church stuff, one of my favorite lines is the one that says, like, don't pray in public. Go home and pray in your closet. This is between you and your Savior. It's nobody else's fucking business. And I think that's, like, a cool moral. But that is not how we do. That's not how America do.
No.
No, not
So
at all.
very obviously not.
Okay.
So
What was that
incredibly
fucking-
obviously not.
Huckabee, right? That motherfucker who was saying that, like,
Like Huckabee?
there weren't enough flags at the Democratic National Convention, but they had bathrooms that took people's like preferences into account. Like, guys, patriot fucking symbols are very important, but respecting people's like privacy and wishes is un-American. We can't have any empathy or humanity at all. All we want is guns and flags.
And no lady boys.
I'm really fucking ready for this election to be over so we can go back to talking about anything else.
You realize that as soon as the election is over, the next one is going to start, though, right?
Hey, Johnny.
I mean,
No,
in America,
seriously, America has 4-year-long elections. And speaking as an outsider, it's fucking tiring to watch.
yeah,
Which is
we're
why
sorry.
we should make fucking... I know this is going to sound stupid before I'm even saying it. We should make like supercomputers that can algorithmically decide the most efficient and humane policies and just have them run the country.
Austin,
Dude,
Yeah.
don't give Skynet the power.
I know. Listen, all of my ideology, all of my politics are completely idealistic and unworkable. And if any of them were implemented, we would descend into anarchy and all be immediately just murdered.
Just don't fall into that trap where you're like, fascism wouldn't be too bad if it was my ideas.
No, all my ideas are bad. Listeners, co-hosts, everyone, hear me. I have ideas. I wish that they could work in a perfect world. We will never live in a perfect world. Therefore, none of my ideas will ever work. Do not listen to me.
Okay. Austin, you're not a co-host. You're a sidekick. We went over this.
Fuck. Now I'm best boy.
Oh yeah, you're also best boy. Speaking of religion, I meant to talk about this weeks ago, and I keep forgetting every week.
Cool.
But sitting on, it was on my table for the longest time, and then I put it onto my bed because I decided to thumb through it for a moment. Seventh-day Adventists put something in my mailbox, as well as the mailboxes of everyone else in my neighborhood.
What day did they do it on?
I'm pretty sure on Sunday, because they don't care about Sunday. Sunday is like the worst to them. No, no. Look, what I'm trying to say is, I wasn't even sure it was a Seventh-day Adventist book. It just says The Great Controversy and does not have an author. So I looked it up on the internet because I was afraid to open it, like the Necronomicon. And apparently it was written by someone who is like one of the early founders of the Seventh-day Adventists.
And someone just printed out in hardbound a copy of YouTube comments about the Ghostbusters reboot.
The Great Controversy.
Yeah, it is about Jesus and Satan. I didn't think it was that controversial. I feel like their positions were pretty clear.
But
what
great
do I know?
is it? Is it like so great?
I haven't read it. I'm not going to. I can't really speak much.
Then.
I can't really speak much to the book because I'm not going to read it, but that's not really what I wanted to talk about. What I want to talk about is the fact that, like, when I looked at it and I realized what it was, I wouldn't say I got angry because that's dumb. Someone just gave me a gift that I don't want. People get gifts they don't want on every birthday, so it's not a big deal. But I was kind of annoyed by it because it's a little intrusive. Normally, like when Jehovah's Witnesses, like the people we talked about last week, like knocked on my door and they would, say, would you like some literature? I would say, no. And that was over. And when Mormons would walk up to me when I used to live in Nevada, like in the parking lot, that was a little more intrusive because I can't slam a door in their face. But, they were polite and nice, and they started talking to me about their thing. And I said, I'm not interested. And that was it. It was over. But I feel like it's a little different when you're, like, putting it into my box. Because I guess to them it's completely innocuous. To me, it's just, like, one step a little too far. Am I making too big of a deal out of this?
You heard it here first, folks. Don't take that step too far and put it in Leon's box. Don't do it.
I mean, do you feel the same way about Chinese menus? Because they do that too.
That is true, but here's the thing about Chinese menus. Sometimes I want it. but the thing about this is, but Chinese people, the Chinese
if
restaurant.
the Seventh-day Adventists got some wontons, maybe I'd be open to it.
Okay.
No, what I'm trying to say is
controversy, Jesus and pan-fried pork dumplings.
Look, there's nothing ideological about someone putting like a menu or like coupons for Burger King into my mailbox. It's just like, oh, okay.
I don't know. I have some ideological objections to Burger King, to be honest.
Fine.
TBH.
That's fair. But I feel
Austin,
like
take your anti-burger monarchy shit and get out of here.
But here's the thing. No, this is the difference, and this is what I wanted to talk about. The difference, and I'm getting into like federal law here. The mail carrier puts the Burger King coupons into my mailbox. Mm-hmm. She brings it every day and puts things into my mailbox. Most of it is stuff I want or need, and a lot of it is just junk. And sometimes I like the junk, and sometimes I don't, and then I get rid of it. But these motherfuckers were just running around the neighborhood trying to very quietly put stuff into my mailbox that I didn't ask for. And it's like, are you? And this is like, and you know, again, I'm probably making too big of a deal out of this, and I acknowledge that. You don't have to tell me in the comments, even though you will. But
are you suggesting we cool hand Luke those motherfuckers?
No. What I'm trying to say, I'm asking like a legitimate question. Are they like actually allowed to do this? I mean, isn't there a law that says that you can? Something about you can't put something in someone else's mailbox? I was almost positive that was a thing. I
mean, yeah, that's the joke. Is in the movie Cool Hand Luke, he is convicted of like a federal crime for I think he like has some kind of like a holdup at some shop that is also a mail thing, so it's like a federal crime.
I haven't seen it, but okay.
Oh,
but
you should. It's good.
Yeah.
But the idea is that since the mail is federal, don't fuck with it. I don't actually know if that's ever been enforced, because like everyone does that. Like people hand out like flyers and shit in mail, and it's like you're not supposed to, but no one listens.
I don't think it's criminal because you're not interfering with the like service or sort of like possessive responsibility of the post office.
It's like jaywalking. Like no cop would ever like waste time enforcing a law if it is on the books.
Like what I'm saying is if you slip a flyer under somebody's door, right? That's not really illegal. It's intrusive.
Yeah.
But it's not illegal. So I think it's also that even though the mailbox is considered to be a private space, unless you actually deal with like unless you actually interfere with the like legal responsibility of the postal service to get your mail to you.
We wasted a lot of time when I could have just read this thing. The U.S. Postal Service would like to warn people that only authorized U.S. Postal Service delivery personnel are allowed to place items in a mailbox by law.
All right.
Bam.
Boom.
There we go.
Take that, Ben Carson.
Settled.
Yeah.
He's the only Seventh-day Adventist I know.
The Postal Service has received complaints of flyers without paid postage being placed in mailbox. Though many may be unaware, it is important to know this type of activity is illegal by federal law. Cool hand, Lukes. Stop luking.
Done. Okay.
It's certainly not bullet, I'll tell you that much.
I think it might have actually been armed robbery that happened to be a postal service. It has been a while since I saw that movie.
Okay, fair enough. But the point is, I am technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
Yeah, the very best.
Yeah, you want to get into questions?
Before we do, I just, Austin, are you hating on Dairy Queen too?
No, Dairy Queen's super dope. I would love to eat Dairy Queen. I have not in literally years because I don't want to be the Austin who eats Dairy Queen often anymore. That's a bad person. Okay. He should not be encouraged.
Okay.
I had not realized that you had a problem. I'm sorry for bringing it up.
Listen, there's been many Austins for the last 25 years. Some of them had more Dairy Queen than others.
Yeah,
Those are probably the worst ones.
But apparently the Austin who eats too much Dairy Queen deserved a title.
Yeah. There was football Austin. There was Dairy Queen Austin. I guess I'm podcast Austin right now. What's the next form? Like lawyer Austin? Oh, he's
law
probably gonna be a
student
fucking
Austin
douche.
First. Law student Austin.
I hate that guy already. Before we start questions, there was one more thing I wanted to bring up. I don't know if anybody cares. Leon, don't cut me off.
I'll try to feign interest.
Okay, I promise I have to get through a sentence you're not going to like before I get to the other stuff. Trust me. Okay, I was watching Jojo.
It's fine. Yeah, go ahead. I don't like it, but it doesn't mean you can't talk about it. Go ahead.
This doesn't literally have anything to do with Jojo. But there's a scene where they walk through this like haunted alley. It's more complicated than that, but you don't need to know about that. And there's this plot point where they can't turn around while they're walking through this alley or they'll die. And this is a reference to the Japanese story of Izanami and Izanagi no Okami. And I love that story a lot. It's also like the premise for Persona 4. But I've been thinking about that and how it's literally the exact same story as Orpheus and Eurydice.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. And I was also thinking of Lot and Lot's wife. But yeah.
How is my question. Where I'm going is, how did this happen that cultures with no contact have the same story?
Don't look behind you. I feel like that's pretty. That's not that strange.
It's not just don't look behind you. It's wife dies, husband goes to the underworld to get her. They journey back up, and he's not supposed to turn around, but he does. Like, that's very specific. I don't know how Japan and Europe have that story, and it's bothering the hell out of me.
Obviously, from a metaphorical angle, it's basically saying, all right, so here's the thing. When somebody dies, they're gone. You can't get them back. So let me tell you a story about a guy who tries to get them back, and then you know what? They don't, because they're fucking dead. They're gone. When you lose someone, you don't turn around, you keep moving forward. It's really fucking simple. Like, it's a simple story.
Yeah, I took a folklore class in college, and one of the things we talked about, not only are there different variations of fairy tales that have like changed over time, but similar fairy tales that were not like created. These were all created independently, but have a lot of similar features. Happened all over the world, and it doesn't mean that we have a collective unconscious like Carl Jung thought. It just means that that you write enough stories, and some of them are just going to end up being similar, and it's not a like unsolved mysteries kind of thing. Like we don't need an episode of Sightings for this.
I know, but
mystery.
like if you take a comparative religion class, right, they'll teach you that like, oh, there's a the Messiah figure in Christianity has precedent, like in Zoroastrianism, like that they also have like a redeemer figure, or like the flood is in Babylonian myth as well as in Judaism, but specifically with the Orpheus and Izanagi story is like those cultures are so different, they're so far apart, and the details are so precise. Like this isn't like, oh man, we try to teach the same story in the same way. This is like there's like a ideological synchronicity to this that is improbable, and it's bothering me.
I stand by my statement that human nature, even though cultural differences are all over the map, that human nature is ingrained, like utterly ingrained. And there are some universal truths about our experiences as human beings. Like, you get hungry, you get sleepy, you get sad when someone you love dies. And
I really love the Hungry story. That's my favorite
story. The Hungry story has like some of the best endings, except for that one really bad one.
Oh my god.
But
it's Jonah and the whale, for anybody who's wondering.
But the thing is that like I really do believe that biologically we are compelled to react to certain situations in certain ways. At least, in large groups, right? Psychometrics or whatever you want to call them. I think that's the term anyways. Pardon me if I just totally use the wrong word, because I'm good at that. But yeah, where in large averages, we respond to these situations biologically the same way. It's what allows us to do things like have sciences like psychology and psychiatry and things like that, is that there's enough regularity in human experience and human reaction to experience that we can actually go, oh, wait a minute, we've got a data set here. Check this shit out.
We'll need to talk.
It should also be noted, like one thing, that when people say, "Oh, look how improbable this is," that must explain, and then they go into like a paranormal explanation for it. Here's the thing about that. Someone once explained this to me. Someone tried to convince me that the Earth must have been magically created because it's very improbable that there are the right set of circumstances for a planet to be the right distance and the right all these other things for it to exist. But then someone else said, yeah, it is very improbable, but there's so many fucking planets in the universe, some of them had to work out that way. And that's all that means. And that's all this means too.
We're not all sitting around on another planet going, man, what a shitty planet. If only life had evolved on a planet that was slightly more suited for our ability to prosper. Man, however did we get to the point where we had shit like planes and spaceships and satellites and cell phones and the internet and all this shit on such a shitty planet where everybody dies when they're 5 years old?
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty basic, like, philosophical argument. The whole, like,
Right.
there are a million universes where we don't exist because it's not probable. This happens to be the one where we do. But I did want to say before we move to questions, though, speaking of, like, ingrained human nature, if such a thing is, such a thing exists.
I don't please don't paraphrase. Please don't mistake the fact that I'm saying ingrained human nature. What I'm saying is that we're biological organisms.
Yeah.
And like we are, again, I hate to use the word designed, okay, but we have basically created a situation in which how we exist is like almost fucking uniform in the larger numbers, in the macro sense.
You're setting up a defense for what I'm trying to do, which is a penis joke. So I think you can probably rest easy.
Yeah, okay.
My joke,
I can cool it on a penis joke.
Let's do it.
My joke is that there may be many things that we all share. There is something called cultural specific, like, diseases or syndromes or, like, these things that we have, which are not universal. My favorite one is called Coro. Hey, have you guys ever heard of this?
No, but I want to.
It is like this, I guess it's called like a group hysteria. It's where like a bunch of people, and this happens in certain cultures, just like, I don't know why, there probably is someone who can explain it, where they all just think their penises are shrinking. It's a thing that actually happens. You can just Google Coro, Koro. It is a culturally bound mental illness, I guess, where a bunch of people just become convinced that their penis is retracting inside of them. And this happens just with I don't know. I don't remember where it is. It's some kind of group. I could also Google it right now. But it's just like
there's got to be some sociological aspect to that.
Yeah,
Probably.
Because
that's a weird thing.
You know, let's be honest. If you let's say correctly, and this is the thing about mental illness, is that it's about being able to not really discern between which things are actually happening to you and which things are not happening to you. I mean, that's a very broad definition, and I hate to generalize, but we have more limited time than doing an entire conference on this and reading papers.
Oh, believe me, I could go a whole hour and a half on shrinking dicks.
But
don't get me started.
But let's say for a second that you correctly believed that your penis was shrinking inside of you. Do you, A, keep this information to yourself? Or B, do you run into the other room and yell, "Holy shit, guys, my dick is shrinking"?
Funny thing about that, maybe this is just a case of, like, itching and yawning. Like, if someone yawns, you start to yawn, or if you start to itch, like, you know, like, if someone, like, mentions, like, bed bugs, apparently everyone starts itching, even though you totally do not have bed bugs. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe some guy, every once in a while, says, "Hey, something's wrong with my dick." And then everyone starts thinking about their dicks, and they're like, "Something's wrong with my dick."
It only takes one guy. It only takes one really super convinced guy to run in a room and go, "Dude, I think there's something in the water. My dick is getting smaller."
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're conflating psychosomaticism with mass hysteria, which I believe are distinct things. But maybe. Probably beyond
I'm saying
our ken.
the two may be related, because historically speaking, there may have been a guy who was like, "Oh, I think there's something up with the energy in this area, or the spirits, or the ghosts of my ancestors, or there's a poltergeist, or I hear that a witch down the road, you guys, my junk, smaller than it used to be." And then other guys are like, "Oh, damn, that witch knows dick shrinking magic." And then, like, maybe 2 generations down the line, someone's like, "Fuck, this happened to my granddad."
Oh my god.
You know what my second favorite culturally bound syndrome is?
What?
Have you heard of Korean fan death?
Yes, I have heard of Korean fan death, actually.
I would like to know about it.
I had one of my friends, and not even Taylor, because Taylor did go to Korea for a while, but one of my friends spent a few years of his childhood in Korea. His father is a university professor, and he was invited to teach there for a few years.
I lived in Korea. I don't remember any of my Korean students or fellow teachers saying, "Hey, Leon, do you want to know about Korean fandom?" But it's
As if like, they would just introduce it like that.
But
they just threw you to the fan wolves.
Hey, welcome to Salem. Would you like to know about our brutish history involving independent women?
But it's possible that I do know what it is, but know it under a different name. So tell me what it is, and I'll tell you if I recognize it.
It's pretty simple. It's just the belief in Korean culture that like fans, like the electronic thing with the blades and it spins and wind happens. If you sleep in a room with one, you'll asphyxiate and die.
Oh, I've no. Then in that case, no, I've never heard of that at all.
Yeah.
No one ever said that to me. I'm pretty sure I had a fan there, and no one warned me.
I know you could have been murdered by a Korean fan. That's really rude of them not to tell you.
Yeah, you would think so.
They work slowly, though, Austin.
Yeah,
it's
taken 25 years for them to get to me.
You don't just wake up in the middle of the night with a fan standing over you with a knife saying, "I've had enough."
So, listeners, your homework is to Google Koro, Koro, and Korean fan death. Read those Wikipedia articles, and then impress your friends with your new knowledge.
You call Korean fan death like this mental disorder, but isn't that just akin to what in America we call wacky conspiracy theories?
Yeah, I guess that's not really a culturally bound syndrome so much as like a mass misinformation thing, or I guess maybe a superstition. But I just was thinking of like what weird culture shit does Austin know that he can use for comedy?
No, I'm glad you brought it up because that's ridiculous, and I wanted to hear about it.
Yeah. Also, probably a fun Google, just like culturally bound syndromes, I imagine would be a fun rabbit hole to fall down. But you guys want to answer some questions?
Absolutely.
Alrighty then. Oh, these are good. The Dragenda asks, biggest red flag an ex-friend or lover ever did in hindsight. Do you guys know about the 3 Yikes Rule?
No, but I bet I can guess what it is.
Yeah, if you're dating someone and they do 3 things on the first couple dates that make you go yikes, 3 yikes, you're out.
I misunderstood the question. I thought someone was saying like after dating them, did you?
Yeah,
like,
in
recall?
hindsight, biggest red flag. I'm just saying that you gotta follow the yikes rule because.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Do you guys have answers to this question?
So I'm assuming this question is about personal experience as opposed to.
Yeah, in hindsight.
Hypothetically, because I mean, hypothetically, you could go with anything, but personal experience.
That does appear to be the.
Go for it.
Yeah, this is not. I mean, this isn't to like. I like to consider myself a reasonably intelligent individual, whether or not that's true. That's just something that I like to consider. And so it's always been important to me to keep company of other people that I also consider to be intelligent. I like to have intellectually stimulating conversation, as well as speak as much as I can about butts.
Same.
But
sure.
Yeah, so this one girlfriend I was once with.
Is this mud? This is mud.
Yeah! This is mud.
More mud stuff.
Here's the thing, too, is that I don't necessarily assume that all people who are intelligent are emotionally available.
You're building this up a lot.
Or even emotionally competent. It's just that it has always been my experience that the people who have been the most emotionally intelligent also have some degree of actual intelligence, intellectual intelligence, whatever you'd like to call it. And Mud once said to me, verbatim, apropos of nothing. Okay, this was the.
Is that how you pronounce that?
Apropos?
Yeah.
No.
I love you, Johnny. Can you pronounce all my words? Sorry,
it's apropos.
Apropos?
But we're just giving you a hard time. I mean, if you've never heard it said out loud, then it's not a big deal.
Okay, no, I don't believe I have ever heard it said out loud.
It's
apropos
fine. No,
of nothing. All right. This was the beginning of the conversation that we had. Who were the bad guys in World War II again?
Yeah, I think you told me this off. I think you told me this when you worked in BT, like off mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck, I do remember this story.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a yikester.
That was a yikes.
That's a big old yikes.
That was a
If
yikes.
you want to, wait. So, did she? Wait. Let me dissect this just a little bit. Did that mean she said she knew that it was Nazi Germany, Mussolini's Italy, and Japan under Hirohito, but she didn't remember that it was called the Axis? Or did she just not know any of those things?
Why don't you go ahead and guess?
Did she not know any of those things?
She knew Germany. She knowed Germany.
She knowed Germany.
She knowed Germany, son.
Biblically.
Fuck. Pronunciation jokes are like low-hanging fruit, but I love them. Did I ever tell you about how my adopted dad says donkey instead of donkey? And he insists that it's right because of the pronunciation of the word monkey.
Oh, no.
He says it either is monkey and donkey or monkey and donkey, and he will not hear reason on this.
Hey, Austin.
Yeah.
Pronounce the word spelt GIF.
Fuck. No. This is like Saw.
No, guys. Were there any other yikes moments with Mud, or was it just that?
That's like a double play. That's a double yikes.
That one jumps out very specifically.
Okay.
Let me think if there were any other yikes. There was a yikes right at the end.
Okay.
Which, it was sort of one of those, she was always very, spiritual, but non-specifically.
Okay.
Do you know the sort that I mean? The kind of person who has this sort of wavering philosophy that just bends to suit whatever thing they're doing at the time, as being like, oh, I'm doing the right thing because I need to care for myself. Whoa, but it's so nice to care for other people. Just these huge turns about.
Sure. They like crystals, but they don't go to church. Yes, I know.
Okay. All right. So, probably a few months before she dumped me, she went to go see a psychic.
Oh.
That's pretty yikes for me.
Yeah.
That's like, you just got swindled. I hope you feel great about it. But this psychic, oh good lord, just fed her like every pile of bullshit about how we were entwined souls, and we had been lovers in more than one past life. And it was
the psychic gets a yikes too. Yikes is for everybody.
Yeah, but I mean, the stupid thing about it is that it's like, okay, you go to a psychic, maybe you don't fucking take it too seriously, you just want to laugh or something, and they're just gonna feed this to you. Oh, congratulations, you're living such a fulfilling life. Oh, you're such a caring person. Oh, wow, you're such an old soul. There's such a richness to your aura. Go. And that, I should have spotted that. But the most fascinating way that evolved out was in the rationale. It showed up in the rationale with which she used to break up with me. Of where it was like, oh, if our souls are entwined, then we'll come together again. If destiny will... I was like, holy fuck, you're using that shit to make yourself feel better about how you're treating me? You know what I'm going through right now emotionally. I'm still very damaged by the fact that my father has passed away untimely, suddenly even, and you're telling me that you need to look after your own needs right now, but it's all okay because the universe has a plan, and if we're destined to be together, it doesn't matter what the fuck you do. We're destined to be together?
You should have stolen her wallet, and then if she called you out on it, be like, I thought the psychic would have told you.
Oh, man. Like that...
You'd think.
So, I guess, yeah, Destiny?
I guess I was destined to have your wallet.
If somebody believes in destiny, that's a red flag that they think that they can probably get away with anything they want because it's destiny.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, if someone ever says everything happens for a reason,
don't ever go to a funeral of a loved one because people love to trot that one out.
I mean, it's true in the sense that the reason is that the laws of physics exist.
Cause and effect. Yes, I understand that technically things happen for reasons.
The reason just usually precedes the action.
And if I can just bring this back to BoJack Horseman for a second, my favorite non-comedy line from that entire show was in season 2, where Henry Winkler says, "There's no shame in dying for no reason. That's why most people die." Mm-hmm. And that's like, oh yeah, you're right. Cartoon.
Cartoon about talking animals.
Thanks, cartoon with a talking horse.
If anyone ever tells you that everything happens for a reason, steal their wallet. And if they call you out on it, you just tell them everything happens for a reason. And, who knows what the reason is, but it's your wallet now. They need to make peace with that.
Disclaimer. Anything that Austin says and or endorses on this podcast is not my opinion.
I said earlier in the episode never to listen to me. Man, we spent 20 minutes on that one question.
Yeah, we answered one question. Let's rapid fire through a few more because I can't stay forever. I love talking to you guys, but I have so much to do, and that is always my dilemma in life. I would rather be doing silly stuff, but I need to do the things that will pay my bills.
I have important internet celebrity stuff to do. Next question.
I have so much to do with Con Bravo. Yeah. Okay, all right, next.
Josephina Vineyard asks, favorite...
Yay, hi, Josephina.
Hello. Favorite fast food or snack food mascot? I know furries are really into Tony the Tiger. Do you guys remember when that happened?
I was just thinking of Tony the Tiger.
Yeah.
But I'm not a furry. I want that to be clear.
There was that throwdown between, I think it was Chester Cheeto. Or Cheeto? That guy.
Cheetah. Yeah, it was Chester Cheetah.
Yeah, and Tony the Tiger had a social media war over the affections of furries in some capacity. You could probably just Google that. What about Grimace? What's up with that motherfucker? What's he supposed to be?
I think Grimace was originally supposed to be the personification of hunger or something.
Oh,
he was.
I don't get that at all.
He was supposed to be a real appearance of something that McDonald's helped alleviate.
Yeah, he was a villain in the McDonald's cinematic universe.
Yeah, like Hamburglar. But it was McDonald's showed up, and it was oh, Grimace is better, or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. Keebler elves? Leon, do you have a funny answer for this? Because we're bad at lightning rounds.
Oh, no, I'm off snack foods, almost entirely. But, I want to say one thing about Cookie Crisp real quick.
Yeah?
Fuck that wolf. Because there's a wolf on the Cookie Crisp box. I don't like this wolf at all. I mean, I'm sorry to be what about my childhood? But Cookie Cop and Cookie Crook, why did you have to change it? Was there, an outcry? The Cookie Crook, it's not like they're glorifying crime.
This is the stupidest conversation we've ever had.
He gets caught. So fuck that. It's ridiculous.
How fucked up was it that they had Wendy from Wendy's on their commercials, and she was a average sized woman, and I guess people didn't think that was good enough, so they replaced her with a hot version. That's fucked up, right?
It's pretty shitty.
There's a hot Wendy?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to avoid being a gross dude.
She was a more,
conventionally attractive.
Here, socially proportional.
She was conventionally attractive.
I'm Googling hot Wendy hamburgers right now.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll go super well.
No, it's just a bunch of hamburgers. Oh, right, because hamburgers can be hot.
Are hot, you dumb fuck.
All right.
Oh, wait, is this Wendy? She has. Wait.
I'm gonna go with Domino's Pizza's The Noid.
Oh fuck, the Noid. Yeah, that's good. Also, cool spot from fucking 7-Up. Next question. While Leon is falling down a Wendy's.
I found her.
hole.
I found who it is. Yeah, she's fine.
You found the attractive one or the actual?
I found attractive Wendy, and she is listed as Hot Wendy under someone's blog. That is how I came across it.
Cora Matus asks, have any of you watched Over the Garden Wall? Did we talk about that yet? That's a phenomenal miniseries.
I have not seen it.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, it's really good. It's I don't know if it shares staff with any of the people who do like Adventure Time and stuff, but it has like a very similar feel. I highly recommend it. It's hard to talk about without spoilers because it's like I don't know 6 episodes. It's pretty short and it does the whole thing. Like there's no more room to add to it. Definitely watch it. Someone else asked. I gotta find that link too. Someone asked about. Oops, what do we have here? Oh, he just put. What the fuck? No, that's that. Okay, Leon just put a. I'm gonna say it's like softcore picture of Wendy in our chat. That's like a cartoon. Is this who you think it is? Because Hot Wendy is a human. Like
no, I know. I found regular Hot Wendy,
okay.
and then I found this.
Cool. Here it is. Oh man, I have to pronounce this now. Darkent Reltnark asked what we thought about a new episode of Steven Universe.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I want to, but I'm just a little behind. I'm catching up on Adventure Time, and then I will catch up on Steven Universe.
Did you finish Gravity Falls?
Oh yeah, a long time ago.
Okay,
like as soon as it aired.
Yeah. So yeah, we got a question about all of those, and I can just answer all of them at once. They're all super good. Gravity Falls finale, super good. The new Steven Universe, super good. Over the Garden Wall, super good. Everything's good. That's the answer. Watch them. Nobody else have any thoughts on any of that stuff?
All of it is good, but I haven't seen the new Steven Universe.
I haven't watched any of it yet.
It's very good. Hey, it's good.
I believe you.
Yeah. I feel like we've answered this one before. I'll do it real quick. Zoxion asks, do you avoid or ingest political media that you disagree with? I think we talked about this kind of briefly last time. Leon, you watched the Republican National Convention ostensibly to stay informed, although you were just informed to the dying culture of white nationalism. I'm not sure how much that's informative.
Look, I like to. It's an interest of mine. I follow it. I also feel like if I'm only exposed to my own current ideas, I won't grow. I'm not thinking I'm going to grow from watching the Republican National Convention, but I also feel like I guess philosophically I shouldn't completely avoid the opinions of others. I guess that's what I'm saying. But having said that, I can completely understand why. And I will not judge anyone for avoiding the opinions of Donald Trump. Just that is perfectly fine.
I don't mind engaging with ideas I disagree with in good faith. Like, hey, let's have a talk about this, but that's not what any of that is. So,
yeah, there's a
That's
difference.
fair.
There's a difference between engaging in the echo chamber, listening to people preach to the choir, and just kind of embroil themselves in that whole "aren't we so great? Yeah, we're so great." And I mean that, I'm not talking about any particular political design specifically. But listening to people who actually, sit down and want to have a conversation about things, which throw back to a few episodes ago where I talked about Twitter being an awful place for any sort of meaningful exchange whatsoever. Part of that is like the signal to noise ratio, because you can actually, I have had civilized and interesting exchanges with people on Twitter, usually punctuated by people jumping in and making some colorful statement about my ancestry, or speculating on my sexual habits in what they might consider to be a negative way. And that's not really exposing yourself to alternate ideas so much as it is having idiots shout at you.
it's like being at a cool book club where an orangutan and blackface runs screaming through the room every 5 minutes.
Oh, God.
But then every time you try and eject him, he says, "Hey, guys,
freedom of speech.
It's my right to be here and express myself,
God, I fucking hate orangutans. Have I made that clear?
Yeah.
Pruitt Holcomb asks, favorite kind of dog? I really like basset hounds. I really dig their whole like stubborn but also like cute and cuddly thing. I relate to that.
Mm-hmm. If I could get a dog, I'm not going to. But if I could get a dog, it would probably be like a husky. Because they're like big and floofy and they look like wolves, and that's always cool. I feel like they would be good like for protection purposes, because no one wants to mess with anything that looks like a wolf. But to the best of my knowledge, they are not known to be like, well, let me rephrase that, because breeds that are like quote unquote known to be vicious, that's sometimes a myth. I don't know. I want a husky. That's I guess that's the long and short.
Owning a husky in Florida is animal abuse.
Yeah, well, I would never live there.
I'm just saying I've seen it, and they look miserable.
Oh.
Yeah. Johnny?
Got a phone call. I'll just be a second.
Okay.
No, it's okay. We can do the next one and circle back to that one in a bit.
It's very important that we get this answer from him.
Yes.
God, okay, got a question specifically for Johnny and a bunch of them. Cool. Cool. My favorite. Here's one for you, Leon. Phoenix
What's
Mod
up?
asks, who are some of your favorite Star Trek characters?
Ooh, oh God. This just makes me so happy. I love talking about Star Trek. I tried to write a Star Trek episode recently. I wrote the whole script. I filmed it and hated it, and it is gone now. So that's only happened twice in my career doing this, but I refuse to put out content that I know is bad, because I think it hurts my brand, and also I think since people are paying for me for it, I just would feel bad about it. So I'm not going to. I'm just going to work on the next thing that's going to be good. Anyway, Star Trek favorite characters. I love all Star Trek, even bits of Enterprise, but my favorite is Deep Space Nine, and it's because of the characters. My favorite characters on there are Garrick, would be my number one Star Trek character in general. I love Weyoun. I love Gul Dukat. I love Odo. I love Kira. And I love Cisco. Those would be my big favorites. Oh, I love Quark. I love almost all the Deep Space Nine characters in general. But getting away from that, like, Star Trek characters that are not in Deep Space Nine, that I like a whole lot. I like, Paris from Voyager, and, the Doctor from Voyager, and, maybe Riker a little. The other Treks.
Now I know how you feel when I talk about Jojo. Like, this is all just gobbledygook.
I know. I understand. But anyway, yeah, I like Star Trek a whole bunch. We should probably go. Johnny left, and I really have to leave anyway. Anything you want to say before we leave Austin? Because I know someone mentioned in the comments of another show we did. They asked if Game Crunk was a real thing. You want to plug that so that people really do understand that exists and it's not a joke that you keep telling?
It's funny because sometimes I feel bad about how much I plug my other stuff. I'm like, oh God, I'm probably annoying as hell. But
no, do it.
People think it's not even real. Yeah, I have 3 podcasts total. Wordfunk, which you're listening to now, which is only on YouTube. And then Game Crunk, which is a video game show I do with Johnny and a rotating cast of guests. We had Eli Seamet, who's a video game developer. We have James Costanzo, who used to work for BioWare. We have like a bunch of like actual legitimate video game industry people, and also just like friends and stuff. The other show is Dice Funk, which is also on this YouTube channel, and also in the same RSS feed. Game Crunk and Dice Funk. You can get them on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, on my Patreon, patreon.com/Austin Yorsky. So there's like 1.5 million ways to get all that stuff. It's very real, I promise.
Yeah, people are sometimes a little confused about like who, like, quote unquote owns what. Renegade Cut, Wordfunk, those are like mine. I own those. I promote, but people are a little confused because I put Dice Funk on my YouTube channel. This is at Austin's request. But I'm happy to do it because it I guess benefits both of us. I don't get any money from Dice Funk is what I'm trying to say. That is Austin's enterprise. I'm just related to it. But Game Crunk and Dice Funk are Austin's shows. Renegade Cut and Word Funk are mine. That's how the business works, or our separate businesses. Anywho, anything else to say before we go?
Uhura is my favorite Star Trek character.